Hezbollah used on Thursday an air defense missile for the first time, or allegedly for the first time, against an Israeli fighter jet, forcing it to retreat from the Lebanese airspace. Do we know what type of system Hezbollah used in this operation, and what does it tell us about the prevailing equation in the past decades when Israel enjoyed absolute aerial superiority in the region?
That needs a bit of explanation. Iran has decided to compensate the lack of uh, air force capability with a missile and drones. And this tactic resulted efficient because there are so many US bases around Iran, there's more or less surrounding Iran. Therefore, Iran is no longer considering them as a threat, but as a opportunity and sitting duck to hit these bases in case of war.
Yeah.
Exactly the same with Israel. It has developed missiles, very modern missiles, because the one used in the attack were very old versions, and modern drones to be able to attack any enemy that cause a threat to the Iranian national security. And Iran has been extremely generous with its allies. In fact, it is part of the Iranian constitution that Iran should support all the oppressed people around the world. If it is in Venezuela or in Kurdistan or in Palestine or in Yemen, Iran, in Iraq, in Syria, or Lebanon doesn't matter, or even in South Africa when Iran supported the South African against the apartheid regime in the 80s. So
Yes.
for that, it's Iran understood out of this experience and the experience in Iraq and in Syria the importance to equip the allies with the specific weapons that they need. And Hezbollah has enough missiles and drones that they can reach anywhere in occupied Palestine and can inflict serious damage on the Israelis. Now, because Israel is aware of that, what the Israelis are using today in Gaza as a main weapon is the Air Force
Yes.
and also the artillery, because the infantry and the mechanic divisions resulted as incapable of conducting a war. They're suffering casualties, they are running away, they are incapable of winning any battle because now we are in battles. We're no longer in a war. They go in and out, they finish one area, they return to it, they go to another area. So they're conducting several battles. But they rely mainly on the Air Force. In fact, in the Nusayrat, they used heavily the Air Force to bomb and destroy these 80 buildings. Now, because of that, Hezbollah thought how to neutralize the only remaining Israeli capability, because in the sea, Hezbollah has disregarded completely the Israeli Navy since 2006 by launching the C-802 surface-to-surface missiles against the Psi-5. And now Hezbollah has acquired not only the Afrin surface-to-surface missile, but also hypersonic missiles that can hit any target in the sea. So the Navy is over. And we have seen in the last drill that the Israeli did, they've used submarines and they did not use surface vessels because they understand this cannot work with Hezbollah. So, having said that, we move away the navy, we move away the infantry, and we move away the tanks because the tanks have a capacity to hit a target within 4 kilometers. Hezbollah's laser guided missiles have a capacity to hit targets to 8 kilometers. So also this is out. The only thing that remains is the Air Force.
Yes.
Now, of course, the destruction of the Hezbollah missiles and rockets can create a balance and deterrence of destruction with the Israelis. Nevertheless, Hezbollah thought of uh, really limiting the presence of the Israeli Air Force. And that is driving the Israelis completely crazy. Because if they cannot fly over Lebanon and violate the Lebanese sovereignty, collect information to their banks of objective, then they are completely blind, particularly when Hezbollah has destroyed all the radars that are on the borders and all the satellites that are directed toward Lebanon to send and receive information and help support the Iron Dome in intercepting the Hezbollah's missile. And because of that, Hezbollah gave the priority to destroy all these equipments and these bridges to be able to hit any target that it desired. And since the beginning of the war, Hezbollah introduced the anti-air missile, but a smaller version.
Yes.
But recently, Hezbollah down to, with today, the six Hermes 450 and 900. Today, the Hermes 900 was down. Now, the flying the altitude of the Hermes 900 is equivalent to the F-16.
Mm-hmm.
This is what is driving the Israelis off the bend, because if Hezbollah is capable of downing a Hermes 900, it can easily down an F-16. What Hezbollah is doing is something I hope many Israelis are hearing me now. What Hezbollah is doing now is creating several units that are totally independent in the south of Lebanon, in Beirut, in the Bekaa Valley, everywhere, where they can act independently of the central command, and they have anti-air force and anti-air missiles that they can direct against any airplane or any drone, depending on the decision of the central command. So for that, they empower them in case of war to use it against any attack that the Israelis can think about doing against Lebanon in the future. And the only thing that the Israelis can do is to destroy, but they cannot achieve any objective. But if their air force is also limited and they risk to have pilots captured in the hand of Hezbollah by having their jet down, that will bring down the government in Israel.
Yes.
Because of that, the Israelis are seeing that today the Hezbollah capability Hezbollah
No worries.
capability has become very damaging for the Israeli capability by using an effective air missile against Israel. But there is another system that is coming also in place. It is the radar system that can defend more static air defense system. And that is a second phase that Hezbollah did not show yet, but it
Mm-hmm.
has the capability of doing it. And we see no air, now that is a technical issue that is important. No air defense system can work without radar, which means that Hezbollah, regardless the use of the Israeli artificial intelligence in their war, to be able to detect any radar from the moment that is in place, active, to identify the target, because the anti-air system needs to identify a target. For that, it needs a
Yes.
radar. And we have seen the short time between the deployment of the radar, the firing of the missile, and the vanishing of the person at the team launching the missiles.
Mm.
All are done so rapidly that Israel cannot hit any anti-air system. That is the most disturbing for Israel.